Hey, what's up? It's GW coming to you live. It's January 19th by my count. And we had just got done watching Joaquin Phoenix's movie The Joker. Now, a couple things you should know before I go into this review. That this movie caused a lot of controversy at the theaters because apparently theater goers were going into the movie dressed up as clowns and various incantations of the Joker. Couple of theater chains had banned people from dressing up, which, you know, I get it, but caused a lot of controversy down the chain. The other thing I want to talk about at the most recent movie awards show, Joaquin Phoenix won for the Joker, and his speech actually went past the time allotted for the awards, thus cutting him off. But I did watch the movie. I was curious. I wanted to see how DC Comics and they reinvented the genre. The character of the Joker, rather. So I picked it up. Didn't expect too much, but I'll tell you what, this is an awesome flick for a couple of reasons I'm going to get into in a minute. But speaking about DC, you may or may not have heard DC has their own streaming service, and they had a show on there that I was really looking forward to called Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was originally on HBO, then shuffled to USA as a miniseries, and it died in water. Whenever DC announced the streaming service, it looked pretty good. That was one of their flagship programs. It looked dark, gritty, and violent. It was canceled only after probably 3 episodes. But there's a 10 episode run in Blu ray, so I hope that everybody who likes DC Comics goes out and buys this and shows DC, hey, we really care about this thing. Swamp Thing's a great character, anyways, but you guys can check that out on your own. Now let's get into the Joker. First of all, this takes the origin of the Joker and makes it more realistic. So you don't have a guy falling into toxic waste, mutating into the Joker as Tim Burton's Batman did. You have a character, very human, named Arthur Fleck. He is a struggling comedian. He's not really that funny, but he tries. He gets attacked twice in the film, and you see him start to descend into madness. You also see the conditions of the real world come down on him, and he really just descends into madness. I mean, there's no other way to put it. On top of that, the political climate in Gotham City is such that the rich get everything handed to them, and the poor people get trampled over, pushed aside, and thrown into garbage cans, for lack of a better word. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to ruin what starts Arthur's descent into madness. But what I did like about the film is that the Joker has always been sinister, and he's always been a very dark character. This film really shows you a lot of that. It doesn't sugarcoat it. There's no PG-13. And when the Joker kills somebody, there is blood. Okay? And, you sit there, and one of the things this movie was criticized for was it brings out the darker side of the theater goers. Well, halfway through the movie, you're sitting there and you look at this guy's life and you go, you know what? It's almost like a taxi driver in reverse. He takes, he descends into madness and does what he thinks is right. There's a particular very gory kill toward the end of the film where he stabs a guy with scissors. I didn't see that coming. Usually I can read this stuff. But Joaquin Phoenix is phenomenal. You actually believe he is this troubled. And it has to do a lot with his mother in the film. Let's see if I can figure out who she's played by. Try and read this. I didn't really watch the credits. I just wanted to come down here and get a review going here for you guys. So I don't know who plays his mother, but I'm thinking it's... Her name's Frances somebody. The way that this ink is written, I can't read it on the DVD. But his mother, has a lot of psychological problems. And she actually has a connection to the Wayne Manor, which is another thing that I'm going to get into. A lot of people were speculative about this movie because they're like, okay, it's going to be a standalone story. How is it going to connect into the Batman franchise? And it does it pretty cleverly, actually. Arthur's mother actually used to work for the Wayne family 30 years ago. That's what they tell you in the movie. And she thinks she's owed a substantial amount of money because Wayne Industries takes care of their own people. You come to find out through the movie that the Wayne family says that Arthur's mother was delusional. Go figure that. And the end of the movie actually sets up for the beginning of Batman. If you guys watch the Batman, the Michael Keaton thing, it starts with Batman's a little kid, and his mother and father are murdered by goons of the Joker. Well, in the Batman movie, I think it's Charles Napier, who played the Joker, who was played by Jack Nicholson. So you guys can do that own thing. Yeah, I know a lot about this crap. This sets up sort of like the storyline between Batman and the Joker. And you do get to see a young Bruce Wayne in this. So there is a connection. And I thought that was pretty cleverly done because the direction of the story, you don't know what's going to happen till the end until you watch it. It's hard to figure out. You know it's going to blend in somehow, but you don't really know how. So, with that aside, this film, like I said, I like it because it's dark, it's gritty, and it makes Gotham look like a cold, rough place. So, it's pretty interesting. This film is unique because it doesn't have a lot of action sequences. It's more drama based. People call it a dark comedy, which I could see why. But when the Joker decides to go off the rails a few times in this movie, it really is shocking because it's almost like a person who's pushed too far and then snaps. But Joaquin Phoenix definitely deserved the award for this because you sit there and you actually believe for about 2.5 hours that he is that person. He has been pushed around. He has been, slighted by society. And when he snaps, it's like a powder keg waiting to go off. So I went into this movie, like I said, not expecting too much, just a stupid action movie. But this is a more realistic take on a comic book character. Whereas the Avengers, there's fantasy. Iron Man, there's fantasy. Swamp Thing, definitely fantasy. But this happens in the realm of reality. And that's what I like. Todd Phillips actually handled this picture very well. And it did deserve a couple of nods. And there are going to be people that are going to tell you it didn't. They're going to say, oh, it's just another stupid comic book movie. We're sick of them. But give the film a try. Take the comic book lore out of it for just half a second. Watch it as you would a dark drama. And I guarantee you your take will be different. Gotham is... The shots of Gotham in this are very amazing. From going into a tunnel to an overhead view of the city, I mean, it's pretty breathtaking the way that they do the photography in this film, which I don't really comment a lot on, but I really did like it, and especially on a huge TV or even a small TV. If you get a 4K small TV, it's pretty awesome. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is Robert De Niro's character in the film. You see him in the very beginning. He plays late night talk show host. A late night talk show host, much that of Johnny Carson back in the day. They don't give a specific year for this film. They don't say, circa 1980 or whatever. But it would have to be when Batman was a kid. So if you guys know more comic book lore than I do, in terms of, years, you can put this film probably when Bruce Wayne was probably about 5 or 6. That's when this all transpired. So, if you're a big Batman fanatic, you can pretty much do the math on that. But anyway, Robert De Niro's character is a Johnny Carson sort of guy, and he sort of becomes the obsession of Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck wants to be on this show, and through a really, really horrible, hard to watch comedy clip, he ends up on the show. And again, the climax of this film is pretty shocking, but handled in a realistic way. De Niro did this, and of course, did The Irishman probably back to back, which The Irishman is an awesome film. You guys should check that out. But if you watch this clip, if you're familiar with films and Robert De Niro films, one of the things that I've noticed was a callback to a film called The King of Comedy, which De Niro played a psycho comedian who wanted to be on a talk show and was just crazed and had an obsession. And if you watch that, as boring as that film was, and it's boring, but it does have a point. It's directed by my man Scorsese, so you should check that out. The King of Comedy, definitely give it up. De Niro played a cat called Rupert Pupkin, obsessed with being on a comedy show, and having his world, sort of transition into the stardom. It almost plays like that in reverse with Joaquin Phoenix, character Arthur Fleck, doing the same thing. Like I said, I noticed that, and it's a minuscule detail, but it's worth noting if you know films. The other thing I like is the transformation of the Joker. Like I said, no toxic waste vats, no nothing. It's just pure, almost instinctive. Arthur Fleck, he's slipping away and he's becoming less of a human and more of a personality in this film, which makes it pretty interesting to watch. So, having that said, if you're a fan of Gotham or Batman in general, definitely check it out. Even though it's a standalone story, you will find a lot to like in this film, especially if you like I said, the dark Batmans, the Christian Bale stuff, on that note. So I definitely recommend picking up The Joker, and it is a movie that, like I said, I didn't expect much from it, but I like the realism, and I think it is a masterpiece. It does deserve to be up there with the best of them, despite what critics say. And it's probably one of the best well-done comic book films ever. Aside from the Avengers and all the blockbuster stuff, this one, I think, you'll find more grounded in reality, which makes it a better story to tell. The violence, when it happens, pops on the screen and is shocking and brutal at the same time. And the Joker's persona, he plays this to a T. You can honestly watch this and think the guy is literally going insane. So, my take on it, perfect picture, awesome, and it does belong in the Academy Awards. And one more thing I want to mention, movie reviews aside, I want to talk about something. About a week ago, we were at Walmart, and it was a Wednesday. Last Wednesday, we were at Walmart. And it was raining real bad when we come out of the store. And, it was coming down in buckets, guys. Like, soaked to the bone. You have to wring your clothes out 5 or 6 times. Well, anyway, me and my wife were throwing groceries in the car. And out of nowhere, this kid comes over with an umbrella. And he's holding it above my head as I throw the groceries in. I didn't even know he was there. And his mom was standing down to the left. And she says, make sure that you keep them dry. And the first thing that ran through my head is, you know what? In a world where people can hardly trust other people, this kid, who I had never seen before, is sitting there holding an umbrella over our heads. So we quickly load the car up. I open the doors, throw the pop and the water in there, right? And he's still there. So, instinctively, I gave him $1. And he looked at me with a puzzled look on his face. I was like, dude, that's for you. Because that doesn't happen in today's society. You never see anybody go out of their way for people like that. And that's when I bought this movie, like a week ago. Um, but yeah, it was interesting. He not only shielded me and my wife from the rain, but also took our cart. And this kid may never see this video. Maybe he will. I don't know. But if you do happen to come across it, my man, I just wanted to say thank you, and I wish I could have given you more than $1, but that's all I had. But my point of the whole story is that when people go out of their way for you that's unexpected, that shows what kind of people they really are. And I can tell you that this kid and his mother were probably two of the nicest people that you could meet. Because you don't see that no more. And just like you don't see people holding doors for old ladies anymore. I mean, there's a few of us that still do it. I was brought up that way. But you don't see it a lot. Because people are so quick to be scared of other people and what they may do that they would rather open the door themselves than have somebody open the door for them that and actually genuinely means it. They're afraid they're going to get robbed, taken advantage of, knocked down, attacked. But there are a few of us good guys left, and that kid is one of them. And I just wanted to mention that because, like I said, it was shocking to me. And me and my wife talked about that the whole way home. I mean, you got people that won't even leave their house because they're afraid other people are going to attack them, mug them, or you could get into a shooting incident thing, whatever, right? But this kid, he comes out of nowhere, and I wish I would have got his name because I would have given him a heck of a shout out on this deal. But like I said, it was shocking and it was awesome. And I'm glad there's still people out there that actually care. You know. So I just wanted to mention you guys because if that ever happens, it is rare and it happened to me and I was just like shocked over it in a good way. So like I said, I hope this kid comes across this and realizes that, A, he didn't have to do anything. B, he took the time to did and he took the time to do it, and C, he basically made it so much easier for us. And I wish I could have give that kid, like I said, more than $1. I wish I could have gave him a shout out or something. Something I could do because that's out of the ordinary. That stuff, you see once in a blue moon. So that was just awesome to me. It meant something to me and my wife. On that note, I hope everybody's having a good New Year. We'll try to do some more reviews. I'm going to try to do the Zombieland 2 review when it comes out on Tuesday. And I hope everybody has a safe Martin Luther King Day. I know yesterday was pretty nasty, weather and everything. I was supposed to go a couple places I didn't even get to go, because of weather. It's pretty nasty. So we just stayed in and watched Live PD, and I played the Division 2. So y'all can see me on there. But yeah, definitely check the Joker out. And despite what society is today, there are a few good people out there today. It's GW.